Hey everybody, Dr. Stephen Green here, the Success Doctor. How are you? Another episode of the Make the Grade podcast. Woohoo! Yes, today a third case study, and you're going to like this one. Get ready to take some notes. This one's really good. Great success story, if I don't say so myself. But let's remind everyone, the Make the Grade podcast is always about giving you, the student or the parent or whoever, caregiving, is actions that you can use immediately to help maximize your education. Some of the stuff is taken from my book, Maximum Education. I am proud to say this is a #1 bestseller in the education category. Why? Because I think it resonated with a lot of people. And a lot of the work I've done is exactly this, to help people to maximize their education through systems, through having systems, a system for time management, a system for information management, and a system for putting it all together, which I call the Daily Success Action Plan. So today I'm going to tell you about Matt. Matt was a student of mine throughout high school. He was local. We met once, sometimes twice a week, on and off for 4 academic years, or 3.5. Once he became accepted senior in college, or senior in high school for college, he backed off. But he went to college. I didn't hear from him for about a year. About 3 weeks into his sophomore year, I got a text from his mom. "Steve, you still tutoring?" "Where would I have gone?" I said. "Yes, of course I am." "Well, you remember my son Matt. He has fallen on a little bit of hard times academically and he needs help. Can you help him?" Now, just as a sidebar, this was kind of early on in the whole internet-based tutoring realm. Now it's easy. Technology is great. Almost everybody has access to software that enables you to work on it. Skype and Zoom and things like this. But this was kind of when it was just really getting good. So we arranged to meet online. He was at a university out of town and was living there. So Matt was a sophomore, and he was a pre-med major. And he had challenging classes, as you can imagine, science-based classes, and he just couldn't get ahead. That was his big complaint. He just never felt like he was in control. And what he really had done was grossly underestimate the amount of work that he needed to do in order to keep up. He was working essentially with sort of a high school mentality in terms of workload in a very demanding, academically rigorous school in an academically rigorous major. So he kind of had old thinking. It was enough to get him through when there wasn't enough, and even most of his freshman year, but not now. Anyway, this is what kind of exacerbated the whole situation. A lot of his classes had 2 grades, a midterm, a final, maybe a paper. So it really concentrated the evaluation into a small amount of work. So at any rate, he never really had any sort of system, okay? So this is what this case study is about, is giving him a system. So finally, sophomore year, we got connected. This is what he told me. There's a direct quote again. Quote, "Before, I would just look at the material and I'd be able to pretty quickly get it and learn it. I didn't have to take a lot of notes. I didn't spend that much time on homework because I really just feel like I needed to. But this year, the volume of work has gotten to the point where I just don't know what to do first. Help." Okay, quote unquote. So the first thing we did, which is always, almost always the first thing I do in a circumstance like this, was to set up a daily, and actually sometimes multiple daily action plan to keep track of what he had to do, to set agendas for when he was going to get it done, and then to make sure it got done. An accountability model as well. This is all based on maximum education ideas and on the theory that we got to know what we're going to do, and what we are trying to accomplish. Okay, this is goal oriented. All right. Now, one of the things that was having trouble with, because unlike high school, if you think about this, high school is sort of a natural rhythm. Middle school has a very natural rhythm. You start a unit, you learn something else, you take a quiz, you learn more after that, you take another quiz, then you have a test that addresses those two quizzes, and then you move on and you repeat the process. And it works well. It works well. And the amount of work isn't that voluminous, that it's typically pretty manageable, at least on a certain level. Well, now Matt is in a situation where he's got lots of work and lots to read and lots to take notes on and lots to memorize. And he's not even sure when the test is. So he doesn't have that test, that kind of final project to drive the process. So that was a big thing that we did. I said to him, listen, you got to think of this like you got to test every Friday or every Wednesday. And what we did was we set up a mindset. This is really a mindset shift, that he was going to have a test every Tuesday and every Friday. And we created a protocol so that he prepared as if that was going to happen. So Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, he studied if he had tests on Tuesday. Most time he didn't. But that didn't matter because we're talking about preparation. Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, he studied as if he's going to have a test Friday for the exact same reason. We are talking about preparation. Here's the good news. In about 3 weeks, it started to all come together for him. It took him a little while. It took us working together some amount of time to just get him back up to speed, to overcome the gaps that had been created before he had any sort of system at all. And we had about a week or two where we were par. Then we actually really started to hit the ground running, and it all worked great. So what he did was, this was less about the managing the time, which is a huge maximum education tenet. This was more about managing the information and creating deadlines, as I discussed, in your daily action plans. So for those of you listening, here's an idea. Do this what if. If you've got a big gap between assessments, pretend or say, hey, wait a minute, I'm going to study this and I'm going to learn this as if I get a test tomorrow or a quiz tomorrow or some sort of graded assessment that I need to do. And here's a closing quote from my student, Matt. Quote, now that I have a system, I actually spend less time studying and getting organized than I did before I was putting this system into place. I feel 10 times more in control of the information and the material moving ahead. It's really a lot of stress I don't have to worry about anymore. I learned it was just a matter of following along with a system, using it every day, and learning how to get better and better. Unquote. From Maximum Education, case study. Now that's a university student, but there's something I think everybody can learn, everybody can apply, no matter what your grade level. And the trick is to make sure that you have deadlines that drive your process. Now, in other podcasts and in other videos, I've talked about how we do that, how we actually manage the information, how we manage the time, how we actually put all this together in the short term, the medium term, and the long term. This is not the time and place for that, but I would direct you to those videos. Or better yet, send me an email, send me a message, make a comment, whatever you're comfortable with. Dr. Stephen Green, the Success Doctor, love to hear from you. Here's my email, sgreene at make the grade, which is MAKE grade.net. Please follow along and subscribe to the podcast. I think you'd enjoy it if you enjoyed this, but more importantly, you'll get actionable steps from it. Consider joining the Make the Grade community, a tremendous resource for families and students. All this stuff is in the comments under the video or in the show notes in the podcast. Thank you, everyone. We're going to continue the case study model for the next couple episodes because I think hearing what other students have done and how they've overcome challenges can be very valuable for everyone. And I hope you agree. So, in closing, thank you, Matt. Continued success. Thank you, everybody out there who's listening or watching. If you're listening and you want to check out the Make the Grade YouTube channel, just search Make the Grade, @Make the Grade, hashtag Make the Grade, Make the Grade, Make the Grade. Dr. Steve again, Success Doctor, wishing you a great week. Talk to you next time.